Hello and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast. My name is Annie Davis and I'm, as usual, your host as we review Week 16 in the NFL. And happy Christmas Eve. I'm recording this podcast very early on Christmas Eve, about half five in the morning right now. We were due to have Ollie Hope on yesterday, but just the time of year it is, I was busy, he was busy, so it is just me. I'm recording this very last minute prior to work and then going home and seeing family. I've not even watched Monday Night Football yet. That is something I'm going to watch on the way to work. So I don't know the score of the Packers against Saint yet, but we are here to review the rest of the NFL action. And we mentioned we had a special announcement to make. That will still be coming in our Week 17 preview. That's coming later on today. About 9 p.m. It'll be recorded. It'll be published tonight. So keep an eye out for that special announcement because it is rather good. Other sort of ad hoc announcements, which I only found out about last night, really, when I was opening presents with my girlfriend. What did she get me for Christmas/birthday present for turning 30? A trip to New York, and not just a trip to New York, also tickets to New York Jets against Miami Dolphins at MetLife Stadium. I mentioned before, I'm 0-6 at live games against the Jets, who have four wins all year long. Surely this is the time where I see my team win. Now, I'm fully aware that I've said before, we play the Jaguars, who haven't won a game in a long, long time in London 2021, and they beat us. So I'm not going to exactly get my hopes up because for a while I've been thinking I'm never, ever going to see the Dolphins win. I'm never going to see it happen. But this could be the one that turns around. It's my best chance of seeing it since the Jaguars game in London back in 2021. It's been the Bengals, the Vikings, who were 6-1 at that point. There are, definitely a chance that we could still lose this game, especially with a game most likely having nothing riding on it. Because unless we see the Chargers lose and the Broncos lose and the Colts lose, on Week 17, there's a good chance that this game is completely irrelevant. So there's a good chance that the schedule makers are going to be, thinking about 6 p.m. on a Sunday. They may do Saturday, but I can see it being a Sunday. Saturday has probably a little bit of importance riding on the games. I think, if I'm right in saying this, in the last few years, they tend to go for games with some sort of importance. But I think they'll tend to put the early slate on Sunday as the games which literally have no meaning. So this could be the one that has no meaning. But no meaning for them, has meaning to me because I'm seeing the Dolphins play in my favourite city in the whole world for my 30th birthday. And hopefully this is finally the game where I see us get a win. Speaking of wins, it was a win for the Los Angeles Chargers on Thursday Night Football as they beat Denver Broncos to all but seal their place in the playoffs. They won on Thursday night by a score of 34 points to 27. Herbert and Bo Nix battling it out. 2 touchdowns each. Herbert getting the only pick of the game. I thought it was a great game. We saw the first fair catch kick converted, I believe, since 1976. It was a really good game. And as a Dolphins fan, I was kind of hoping for a Broncos win because a Broncos win would have made the Chargers, we'll go on to Dolphins later on, but only one win clear of us with our win against the Niners. So I think I was always in my head thinking I want the Broncos to win because would I prefer to have with 2 games left, trying to battle with 2 teams with 2 wins more, or would I prefer to have a situation where I'm battling with a team that has 3 wins more out of sight and one team who's 1 win clear? So, yeah, not the result I wanted. It's probably a result that all but seals our place out of the playoffs. I think a win for the Broncos would have made it a bit more feasible, but they have got the Raiders and Patriots in the last 2 games, so I'm not really expecting much from those 2 teams. I mean, both these 2 teams are likely to have. They currently have as well the top 2 picks in the next year's draft. So, yeah, I'm not really putting my hopes on those 2 teams who are clearly on a tank mode. So, yeah, I think overall, it was a great game from Lad McConkey, 87 yards. Marvin Mims as well, 62 yards. Not really the best game running wise. I mean, the lead rusher was Gus Edwards with 68 yards from 14 carries, but did get 2 touchdowns. helped a long way towards them winning this game. With J.K. Dobbins being the lead guy and then him being injured, Gus Edwards had the chance to step up, and this is what he did. And yeah, the Chargers for me, I think we knew that if they won this game, it'd all be sealed their place because, for what I mentioned before, that terrible schedule, well, not terrible, but easy schedule for them, and an awfully hard one for us to deal with. The Broncos, they've got 2 tough games from the Chiefs and the Chargers, so that could be our way in now, I suppose. So maybe it's a good thing the Broncos lost, because I think against the Bengals, they could win that game because of how bad the Bengals defense is. But I think, certainly the Chiefs, it's a tough game. But week 18, if they win their next game, they'll be confirmed as the number 1 seed. They may rest players. I think what they'll do, what they normally tend to do, is they tend to play Mahomes and the starters for, I think, 1 quarter, and then they tend to bench them. I think we'll see that. I think we'll see Carson Wentz have the majority of the shares, majority of the reps. Probably see Edwards-Helaire as a running back rather than Pacheco. We'll see a whole array of different receivers. And yeah, I don't think it's best timed for them to be playing the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs will be on holiday mode, on the beach, ready for the playoffs, resting players, not really focused on the win. And I think that will ultimately probably cost the Dolphins in the end. And also the Colts have got the game advantage. They've also got a fairly easy last 2 games. So yeah, you never know. You can keep the faith, but overall, I don't see any way the Dolphins make the playoffs, in my opinion. Moving on to Saturday, we did see 2 games take place on the Saturday, as we normally do, the last Saturday before Christmas. And the first game involved the Chiefs and the Texans, and the Chiefs did win by 27 points to 19. Of course, the Texans already confirmed as division champions thanks to their win against us. The Chiefs, already weeks ago, confirmed as the AFC West champions. Still, just 1 loss for the Chiefs this season against the Bills. And overall, yeah, I thought it was a fine performance from the Chiefs. I think they were pretty efficient, to be honest. Mahomes, 1 touchdown, 0 picks. Kareem Hunt, Mahomes both got rushing touchdowns. Xavier Worthy got involved with a touchdown. And yeah, I think they picked off CJ Stroud twice in this game. Texans' run game never really got going, and I thought overall, the receiving game was pretty good. Tank Dell, of course, was the main guy, and of course he got that horrible injury in this game. CJ Stroud visibly upset by it, and yeah, I think that's for him a really gutting situation. Now, I'm going to check now what the actual situation is. I've not checked it since Saturday. Yeah, ACL injury out for the season is pretty damning. I think the Texans, that's a really, really horrible loss for them, because not only do you lose Stephon Diggs, you also lose Tank Dell, who's been one of the best receivers in recent years for the Texans, and to lose him and now have no Diggs and Tank Dell for this rest of the season, it is pretty tough, because we know due to the strength of the AFC North, it's going to be either the Steelers or the Ravens. They'll be likely playing as the 4th seed against the 5th seed, and from what I don't see any way they beat either team. Even though they're at home, I don't think it's much of a home advantage in NRG Stadium. I could be wrong. Graham Henderson, our Texans fan, a guilty Texan, he'll probably tell you differently. I've been to 1 Texans game, albeit that was on the same game as the World Series, when the Astros were playing the Phillies, the same day the Eagles were playing the Texans. But I've never really watched a game on TV and thought that's an amazing atmosphere. I think you look at games like Arrowhead, especially, you watch that and think, wow, that's an amazing atmosphere. And having been to it myself, the same thing. Unbelievable atmosphere. Other stadiums, same thing. Steelers is one, Dallas is one, Vikings. But I never really ever thought that on TV, thinking this is the good. I'm not even to say good. More, it's never really like one you fear. It's never one that I don't think it's one that can give you an advantage. Like you think of the 12 men in Seattle, but one that do give the team sometimes an advantage. Superdome, the same thing. The record it broke with Beastquake. Or was that in Seattle? But either way, both those stadiums have been known to break decibel records and been known for having loud atmospheres. And I don't think the Texans is that. So I don't think that you can even rely on that. And I think I don't think going on the road to Houston is that scary as going on the road to, say, Baltimore or Pittsburgh, for example. So I think this team is probably going to be one and done in the playoffs. I think they had all the hype going into the season. I don't think it's at all been what they expected. It's been, him and Caleb Williams have been sacked so many times this year. It's been terrible. But I think, the Texans, I think, they'll be involved. It's good for them to be, division winners. But I think as far as they go, and I think the Chiefs keep rolling. Now, I still am adamant they're not going to win the Super Bowl or even make it. I still think it's Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson lifting that AFC title. But you never know. This Chiefs team is incredibly efficient, and this is why they could easily prove me wrong. They're winning all these games. They're 14-1 without really getting off third gear, and I think they're preparing for the playoffs, and that's probably why. I think you get to the playoffs, we'll probably see a different Mahomes. We'll definitely see a different Kelsey, and I think that could be in their favour. And of course, home advantage is always key, and I think this could be once again the Chiefs' season. You never know; they might not, and I don't think they will. But again, it's not going to shock me if they go out and win out and make the playoffs and sort of go out and win all the games. I think what I like a lot, I've said it before, it's the third downs. It's the third downs I think is going to be the killer for any team, because for a lot of time, again, you're watching it on Saturday evening, they're not getting no luck. And then third quarter comes, Mahomes, he finds Travis Kelce, he finds Xavier Worthy, and they keep rolling. And the amount of times they get these third down conversions, it's crazy. And Mahomes has got, I said before as well, one of the best QBR ratings for third downs in the NFL this season. It's scary for any team, and I think that you're going to have to beat Chiefs if you're going to make a Super Bowl. If you're going to make the Super Bowl in New Orleans in February, you're going to have to beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. I think, of course, they can have off days, and they have off days, and I think that they've had off days against bad teams who have not made them pay, or average teams who have not made them pay. The one team they played that was good beat them, the Bills. So yeah, the Chiefs, whilst they've been good, they can be caught. I hope. So I think we all hope. I'm not having a bash any Chiefs fans or even the franchise. It's quite a respectful franchise. Can't really hate the team. Just hate the fact they win. It's nothing against the team. It's like I used to always hate Federer for winning Wimbledon. Looking back in now, I'm not sure why, because he was the nicest man, real gentleman of the sport. And I think the Chiefs are it's just the fact they're winning. We all don't want teams winning again and again, and this is the dynasty of the modern times. And yeah, this is it. This is the problem we have. But I think the Chiefs overall, it was a good game from them, and they go on at 14-1. Next game, I mentioned Baltimore Ravens before. Lamar Jackson, they were the other Saturday game as they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers by 34 points to 17, which really ramped up this AFC North battle. With 2 games left, they're both on the same wins, both on 10 wins, both 10-5 going into these last 2 games. Really entertaining game, really entertaining fourth quarter. There was a point where there was an amazing Derrick Henry run. Then there was an interception from the Steelers. At the end of the field, Steelers couldn't get it done. It was if I get the actual, if I'm right in saying this, I want to get this right, because I watched it on Sunday. I watched it Sunday morning. If you all don't know by now, I tend to watch these games that are on late in the morning, and because I was out with friends for our annual Christmas meal. I always watch these Saturday games before Christmas the next morning, and because I was with family, I ended up watching it just purely the Sky Sports 2 hour long packages of both games, both Chiefs Texans and Steelers Ravens. So I've got the box score up now. It was so Henry run 44 yards. Then it was a pass to Bateman. Fitzpatrick intercepted it, and then the next thing happened. Russell Wilson threw to Michael Pruitt. Marlon Humphrey goes in, intercepts it for a pick 6. There was a crazy few minutes. But in the end, it meant nothing. The Ravens were comfortable winners in this game, and they move on. And yeah, it should be quite entertaining last 2 games. Ravens Steelers. It's going to be, we think about the last day of the season. It's going to be Seahawks Rams, Vikings Lions, and then this could be the other one they look at. Of course, Ravens have the Texans on Christmas Day, 9:30 for us tomorrow, and then they got the Browns. So for them, that could be 2 wins there. I think they can win easily both those games. And then Steelers, their last two games, see them play the Chiefs again. Then also Christmas Day, and then they'll also have on the last day of the season they'll have the Bengals. I think both teams have got winnable games, but I think there's definitely room for one of these teams to lose one of these games. I think both the Bengals, Texans, Chiefs could all cause problems for these teams. I think particularly the Chiefs and the Steelers. I think that they'll want to try and lock up and guarantee this one seed no matter what happens in Buffalo. So I think Steelers could be the ones that fall by the wayside, and they'll be the ones most likely playing the Texans on the wildcard round. Moving on to the other scores on the Sunday, we saw the 6 p.m. slate, and the Bengals easily beat the Browns by 24 points to 6, and the Falcons eased past the Giants and Drew Lock in Michael Penix's first start for the team by 34.7. Michael Penix having no touchdowns, one pick, but 202 yards in a fairly steady performance. One where the defense completely ran the show. It was a brilliant performance from them. And now the Falcons make it interesting. The Buccaneers lost to the Cowboys on Monday Night Football, meaning that they have the same amount of wins going into the last two games. So there's so many divisional scenarios and matchups for our last day of the season. It's really going to be an exciting final day, and I think it's going to be potentially one for the ages. But we need to see how next week goes, because one team could lose, one team could win, and then they could make the last day a bit less appealing, a bit less sexy. But, this defense to me, Jesse Bates had an interception, Matthew Judon had an interception, and there was a pick six in there as well. So, yeah, overall, pretty good performance overall for the Falcons. And the Buccaneers they lost by 24 points to 26. It was a close game against the Cowboys, who were starting to win games, when they're really out the playoffs. I mean, when they mean nothing. And, they got confirmed, like the Niners, that day that they were out of the playoff race. And they seem to be just playing well far too late in the season. And I think that'll give Cowboys fans some hope going into next year that, look, this season wasn't our season, but next year, if we can build on how we played towards the end of this year, then I think that could be the way in for them. And I don't think even with Dak back, they're going to be sitting here and going, "What, we're going to win a Super Bowl, we even make one." But I think certainly being back in that playoff contention, back in that sort of playoff hunt, I think that's going to be, where they're looking at. And I think this is going to be, a season they look back on with some regret, because they paid Dak all that money. They made the playoffs last year, all the hope going into the year, a bit like the Dolphins, but overall, massive disappointment. But yeah, CeeDee Lamb had a great game. He was the star of the show, and it's one of those ones where, just one of those years. And the Buccaneers, they had a poor game. Baker didn't have his best game, I didn't think. Had some great throws. There was an amazing throw in that game. Can't remember who it was to. It might be Jaden McMillan. It was someone. I can't think who it was to. But yeah, I think the Buccaneers will look at this game with regret, because that would have been a game that would have kept them above the Falcons in the race for the division. And now it makes them, at the moment, second in that division and out the playoffs. So they need to start winning games quickly. And I think I think personally they will still win that division. I don't believe the Falcons will get 2 wins in their next 2 games. But I think the Buccaneers are far more solid. Mike Evans is so elite, and Baker Mayfield has been one of the stories of the last few years. His resurgence in Tampa Bay. So yeah, I have faith. I have faith in the Buccaneers. I really do. I'm looking at their schedule for the last 2 games. The Buccaneers will play on Sunday. They play in their final 2 games. They play, if that thing comes up, they will play the Panthers and then the Saints. Now, I don't know how the Saints did, but either way, against the Packers, but either way, they're not a good team. So I think that's 2 wins for the Buccaneers there. But I think the Falcons have the tiebreaker. So if they win their 2 games and the Falcons win their 2 games, then it's pretty much irrelevant. But their last 2 games see them play the Commanders and then the Panthers. So that is the Buccaneers' way in. If the Falcons lose to the Commanders, then, which I think could happen, then I think that's the way in for the Buccaneers. They win the last 2 games, they will be in. So I think that's what they got to look at. That is what they have to look at when it comes to this. Have hope that the Falcons can get a favour. So the Commanders can give them a favour in week 17. Moving on, though, to the Detroit Lions, who got back to winning ways. They beat the Chicago Bears by 34 points to 17. All the players they lost recently didn't seem to matter. Now, the Bears were terrible. I thought Goff was pretty efficient. 3 touchdowns, 0 picks, almost 400 yards. Gibbs, over 100 yards, 1 touchdown. Jameson Williams, 143 yards, 1 touchdown. St. Brown, 70 yards, 1 touchdown. So I think even with the Bears being bad, the Lions were still really good. And there was that really cool fake stumble play from Jared Goff in the game. But it was, again, really poor from the Bears. And this Bears fan base must be the most frustrated in the world because, again, it's just awful from them. They just can't seem to get anything right. And it's just another season where they've been let down. All the hype going into the year, number 1 overall pick with a 7-win season before that. Yeah, I thought it'd have been, that would have been it for them. They would have made the playoffs. But overall, yeah, pretty bad from them. Moving on for your short of time today, we've got the Titans loses to the Colts, 38-30. Titans almost staging a brilliant comeback, but in the end, it was a win for the Colts as they keep their slim playoff hopes alive. And the New York Jets once again lost. They lost by 19 points to 9 to the Los Angeles Rams, who keep their division hopes well and truly alive. It was all pretty tight in this game, and then late on in the game, a touchdown from tight end Tyler Higbee sealed the game for them and kept them afloat 9-6, which was helped by the loss by the Seahawks to the Vikings, which now gives them a 1-win lead over them in the race for the NFC West. And the Vikings keep them going, keep their race going and their hunt, their slim hopes of the NFC North title going. They moved to 13-2 with that win. So that means they're 1 win behind the Lions with 2 games left. But they do play each other in the last day, and I don't know what it does in terms of seedings, whether if they both win a game each, I'm not sure what that does in terms of who goes top of the division. We're not sure. That could be an exciting last day. Talking of exciting, the Eagles and Commanders played out a thriller. The Commanders winning this game by a score of 36-33. It was an amazing end to the game, really was. The Eagles, of course, had the injury problems of Jalen Hurts. He went off early in the game. Kenny Pickett went into the game and had a fairly okay game. I mean, he had that great throw from the 2-yard line to AJ Brown. It was an amazing, amazing play. But overall, looking at his overall scoreline, it was 1 touchdown, 1 pick. But the Commanders were excellent, I think I'm pretty aware that the Eagles might have won this game if Hurts was playing. But in the end, you've got to praise them for their fighting, their spirit to once again win a game late. You think about that game against Bears, the Hail Mary. They did it again, 11 seconds. If I'm right in saying this time-wise, it was 6 seconds left. It was where Jaden Daniels found Jamison Crowder for a 9-yard touchdown, gave them the lead, and then right at the end of the game, there was a fumble by the Eagles, sealed the game for the Commanders. And yeah, whilst I think the NFC East is pretty much locked up, that did prevent it definitely being sealed up. But I think there's still 2 wins between these 2 teams, 2 games left. I still think it's very much the Eagles' division, and I think there's no way they don't win that division. Moving on to the other games on Sunday, of course, I mentioned before the Dolphins-Niners. The Dolphins did get the win over the Niners, and a game that I never thought start of the year that we win this game because the Niners were one of the Super Bowl favourites. We were seen as a team that were good, maybe going to be pushing for the playoffs, but never really a playoff team. But it was I think, a fairly comfortable win. I didn't really feel much in danger by the Niners. I wasn't scared by them before the game, even before they were announced as not being available to make the playoffs, being officially eliminated. I wasn't scared at all. Tua had a fairly productive game. No interceptions from him. 215 yards. A-Chain had over 100 yards. 1 touchdown. Had the most receiving yards as well. Niners were okay. Rushing was awful. Purdy led the way with 26 rushing yards. Kittle was the star man once again for them, but it's just been one of those seasons. I was hoping to get Ollie on to discuss the Niners' problems in more detail, but we'll get that from him when he's on in the next week or 2. Niners really underwhelming season, not at all what they were probably expecting to start the year. And once again, they make a Super Bowl. Following year, they don't make the playoffs. Not great from them. But the Bills, they are making the playoffs. They're probably going to be the second seed. They beat the Patriots in what was a game that really was closer than anyone thought it'd be. They won by 26 points to 24. 1 point they were 14-0 down. Sorry, 24 to 21. 1 point they were 14 points down. But James Cook found the way to get back in the game. Allen's wasn't his best game for Josh Allen, but he found the way. James Cook was a star man, 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 receiving. Brilliant from him. It was a steady performance from them. Games you have to win. I think if you want to win want to win championships, win games ugly. And that's what all teams do. No team wins every game. Unless you're the Warriors in 2016, 2015 Warriors, where you're winning games all the time by some comfort. You have to win games. You can't win every game playing well. You have to win games ugly. And it shows character. And the Bills did that. They got the win. As did the Raiders. They beat the Jags in a fairly uneventful game, which no one was really watching, apart from those in Red Zone, all those diehard Raiders or Jags fans. Mentioned before, the Cowboys beating the Buccaneers, and that's where we'll end the podcast for today. We are short of time because I got to get to work, and it is Christmas Eve. Hope you'll have a great Christmas. We will be getting one more episode coming later on today. That will be our Week 17 preview with a special guest, and we'll see you guys then. Take care.